What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the show, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, to hang out with friends, talk shit, talk shop, and reminisce about old stories. I'm sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, via Chicago, via Michigan, Mr. Jeff Scheen.
Hello. Yeah. And the dogs go wild.
Yeah. I got to figure out. I've been reaching out to so many places for a studio space, and it's so much hurry up and wait in New York.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like I've sent emails, I've reached out, everyone's like, yeah, we'll get back to you in a couple weeks. And I'm like, well, I got to do this every week. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But plug everything up front.
Right.
You're a comedian here in New York. You have an album coming out.
Yep, I got an album.
Promoted.
Album coming out January 28th.
Boom.
Knock on wood, ideally, unless, a hurricane hits or something. Who knows? But January 28th, album coming out. First one.
First one.
Congratulations. Finally pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking.
Oh, it's got to be terrifying.
I feel like I was over ready. Like, I feel like I could have been like, I just kept like, no, not yet. I got to wait till everything's perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And then you realize, you're like, it's never going to be, it's like,
Did
I'm
you
never
do-
going to have like, all right, every word is set in stone.
Exactly how I
perfect.
like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's now a perfect script. At some point, I was like, well, I'm just tired of doing these jokes. I got to take the jump.
Yeah.
So I recorded it in Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Michigan.
Okay.
Which is where I started.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's my big thing is when I do finally record my first one, I want to do it back home.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's got to be so much cooler. Like, everyone who saw you, like, starting out and stuff comes, and it's like, that's got to be so much more fun than, like, some random place in New York. Where,
you do the full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I did the full circle.
So was it all? How many shows did you do?
It was a weekend, so I did like 5.
Okay, you recorded all of them?
Yeah, recorded all of them and, like, got them on the last one.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, oh no, it's coming down to the wire. You're like,
yeah.
I mean, that one was like, I think that was good, but, and then finally, like the last show on Saturday, they're like, oh,
nailed it.
Yeah, I was like,
crushed
okay,
it.
here it is. It's like, thank God.
God.
So yeah, it's coming out.
What's the name of the
28th.
album?
Jeff.
It's just Jeff?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Jeff
Love
Scheen
it.
presents Jeff.
That's awesome. Where can people find it?
It'll be on iTunes and Spotify, I think Pandora, and hopefully Sirius XM.
So all digital platforms?
All that stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
It's with
awesome.
On Tour Records. It's
Okay.
a small.
Oh, so you didn't do it yourself. You had backing and everything with it.
Yeah, small little company guy.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's because I have a shadow producer of the show, hip hop artist rapper out of originally Atlanta, now in Dallas, but he Joe Dorville, he did it all on his own for his first album.
Yeah,
Like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess you can do just like with podcasting. You can just kind of like put it out there and post it places.
Yeah.
So you can like push it onto iTunes and Spotify and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you get more money that way.
Yeah. Well, and
it's
it's also just one of those things though where it seems like such a hassle because I know how hard it was to get everything done with the podcast, and so it seems like it would be such a hassle to do that with an album too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
that's
you
why,
had them.
Yeah,
They
that's why I
helped
did
you
it
out.
with them. I
Yeah.
was like, because I'm like, I'm not computer literate.
Yeah.
At all. Like people would think because I play video games, like, oh, you know technology.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't know how to move a file or to clip a thing.
Well, I just opened this up, and you're like, yeah, I'm just now learning how to do this Audacity stuff.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, all right, here we go.
I'm just now like my roommate helped me set up. I had to record a podcast yesterday.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, just tape the audio on your
Yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I
do
don't
it remotely
know.
and then send
Yeah.
it to us. Yeah. That's what I do for my sports podcast.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I did it. And I was like, here, cross my fingers.
It sounds so much better than just doing it over Zoom because there are very few, even though we're all quote unquote professionals, there are very few people who actually invest in like a compressor and a mic and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't know. I didn't get into comedy to do this stuff.
Yeah. So like I've done Zoom shows with like people who comedy is their main job. Like that's
Yeah.
all they do is comedy.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're super set up. Like Kevin McCaffrey, because he does Sirius XM. He's got the show on XM and stuff.
Yeah.
He was so ready to go. He was like locked and loaded. Sounded like we were sitting right next to each other.
Really?
Yeah,
he a nerd though.
Yeah. But then I've had other people on, again, where comedy's their main thing, and I'm like, you sound like you're underwater. Like, what are you doing? So I
have a whole closet full of just like crappy microphones because I'll buy the cheap one.
Yeah, the Insignia ones.
Yeah, that won't work, and I'll buy a slightly better one. I just won't commit to like the big price.
Yeah.
And I just end up spending way more money.
Yeah, because you're buying over time, smaller
so I
and
got
smaller.
like 8 microphones of just varying degrees of.
Yeah, and they're all just garbage.
Yeah.
What plug your social media and everything as well before we get too far into it.
It is New York Jeffrey.
New York Jeffrey.
Yeah.
You go by Jeff, but it's New York Jeffrey.
It's New York Jeffrey. I try to get New York Jeff. There's a New York Jeff somewhere around here.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. So I had to like take the Jeffrey.
Okay.
Which is fine. I'm New York Jeffrey. That was available. I was surprised there was nobody took that yet.
That's why I love that having a unique name like Brennan.
Yeah.
Because it's always, whenever a new platform comes out, Brennan T Comedy is always available. No one takes it.
There's like 8 Brennans.
Yeah, in the whole world. It's a last name. It's a common Irish last name, but it's not a first name, so no one thinks to use it.
I knew a Jeff Brennan.
Yeah, and there's Neil Brennan and Kevin Brennan, obviously in our wheelhouse. So it's funny because whenever I go anywhere around New York and I say, they're like, "What's your name?" I go, "Brennan." Especially if it's comedy related, they're like, "What? Brandon? Brian?" I go, like Neil and Kevin, it's Brennan, and they're like, "Oh, okay, got it." I'm like, great. I'll just go fuck myself.
You
Cool.
should marry a woman with a Brennan last name.
Oh,
take
that'd
her
be
name.
fun.
Be
Yeah.
Brennan. And you'll look very woke and feminist.
Oh God, yeah, because I would take her name. Let's talk to everybody because we were just talking about this before we started recording. This is the first time you and I have met. We
First
met
time.
through a mutual friend, Steven Rogers, who's coming on the show when his getting ready to release his album next month. But I had reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, new to the area. Like, do you know any comics that would have anything to promote?" And he was like,
yeah.
Check
like-
out Jeff Scheen. Got an album."
Yeah, check him out. I have anxiety. There's my Steve.
That's a great Steve. So I reached out to
nervous.
you and you were like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we were talking before. You're originally from Michigan.
Yeah, from Michigan.
An hour outside of Canada, just north of Detroit.
Yeah, north of Detroit. Well, north of. It's like south of Flint, north of Detroit, in that little gray zone.
Right in that pocket.
Right in that little sweet pocket in the woods.
So did you grow up very rural, kind of?
Oh yeah, dirt roads,
backwater.
Yeah, dirt roads, woods. There was a camp. There was a summer camp.
Really?
Yeah, next to like where my house was. So kids would come out and camp.
So are you? So you had mentioned earlier you're not big on the technology stuff. Are you good? Like, if I dropped you in the middle of like
The woods?
the woods, are you good?
No.
Your reaction to that, you were just kind of like, "Oh no."
I hate the woods. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
I was like, I got to get away, so I came to that's why I'm in the city.
I'm the same way. Everyone loves to like camp and go to the Everglades and stuff. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, there's bugs everywhere. That's gross. I'd rather have a homeless man pooping on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's less gross to me than an inchworm, you know?
That's true. And like it's that constant like sweating. You get the smoke smell from the campfire. And I smoke cigarettes, but like that smoke from the campfire and then the sweating and then it dries and then it's like just dirty. Like give me a place. Like you said, guy pooping on the sidewalk, but at least I know I can go upstairs and take a shower whenever I want.
Like, I want to be surrounded by buildings.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like the woods. Yeah.
Clean. I like, and even though it's not that clean in certain aspects, I like it better than the woods.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather walk through the Met than walk through Central Park.
Absolutely.
It's just okay. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, the woods are boring. Nothing to do out there. So I came to the
God,
city.
so many people in the South who listen to this are gonna get so mad. They're gonna be like, "Fuck you guys!
I love the woods."
Big listenership in Florida. They're gonna be like, "What the
Yeah?
hell, man?"
I did some Florida shows years
Did
ago.
you?
Yeah.
Where at? This is
Oh,
right in this podcast's wheelhouse.
this one I will always remember because it was in the Panhandle. It was,
Okay. Tallahassee?
Panama City.
Panama
It
City.
was Panama City.
Yeah,
That's
there's
right.
a comic who just moved to New York City, Andrew Ferrara. He was on the podcast. He was one of the people who helped like build that Panama City comedy scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me and a guy, this was years ago, did a show in Panama City, and it was like some restaurant. It was busy.
Yeah.
And
Ambush comedy? Surprise, we're doing comedy.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah,
like,
ambush comedy.
And there was like a curtain, but you could just hear the whole restaurant anyways, you know?
Didn't matter.
And I remember we talked to the manager guy. We're like, so what do we do? And he goes, oh, he's like, oh, I don't know. It's pretty packed in here right now. The whole damn union's down here. When he said union, we were like Michigan guys.
Yeah.
So we were like, dude, was he talking about the car unions?
Had no idea.
No clue. We were like, did he mean like there's a bunch of Michigan people down here?
It's a party now.
So we were convinced. We're like, hey, are you all from Michigan? And like, nobody.
No,
and they're like, oh, he meant Union, the North.
Yeah. Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees.
Yeah, it is weird, especially in Florida because it's in the South, but it's like different levels. Like Panhandle, North Florida is very like the South. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You can have my guns when you pry 'em from my cold, dead fingers, that kind of people.
Yeah, they're like south, like woods south.
Yeah,
they're still in the woods up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you go further down, it's all beachy, and that's where you find your cocaine.
You get your, yes. Well, and then you get like Central Florida, which is like a weird mix of like the North and the South. So it's kind of like beach people, but also like country people.
Sure.
And then
they meet over Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it's like a weird. And then you get to the South, and it's like, oh, this is Cuba. This isn't even. We're not even America anymore.
Yeah.
Which is exactly right. You get your cocaine from, well, your good cocaine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your high priced cocaine.
So I like to always kind of free flow with the podcast. You did bring me some stories. I do appreciate the list. But before we get into that, how did you get into? I always ask every guest this: how they got into where they're at. How did you get into comedy? Were you always a fan of stand-up? Did you just like Seinfeld, comedy movies, comedy shows? Like, how did you get into it?
I wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't ever like. I didn't really know about stand-up for the longest time.
Okay.
I wasn't one of those people that are like, oh, I grew up like comedy nerds. Or
Yeah.
like, I had all the albums. I didn't know anything about it. And I don't know. I was just always talkative and annoying to people.
Yeah.
And
that is a feeling I am familiar with.
Yeah. And then I would just start like at work. I worked at Circuit City.
Okay.
God,
wow.
God rest her soul.
Deep pull.
Shout out to Circuit City.
God.
And at work, I would just make the cashier people laugh because they're just standing there bored all day.
Yeah. So you're stalking.
Yeah. And then somebody was like, "You should do stand up," and I never thought about it.
That's so interesting to me because that happens a lot with guests on the show. Is it's always. Not always, but a lot of times it's somebody else said.
Somebody's like, you should try it. And
yeah, because I was the person where I saw Listen to Harmful of Swallowed when I was in high school by Dane Cook, and I was like,
that was the first comic I got into. Dane Cook.
Me too. And everyone talks so much shit now.
I know.
But it's like, go back and listen to that fucking album. That's a good fucking album. And then that Comedy Central Presents was on a loop. His Comedy Central Presents was on a loop.
Yeah, when he had the tank top on.
Yeah, and he got in trouble for wearing the tank top. I've heard everything about it. But I when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, like I want to do that. Like that looks so much fun. And I'm starting to discover through doing the show for over a year now is that the case for most comedians is other people are like, hey, you should do that.
Yeah.
So I'm in a different kind of weird like narcissism place where I was like, no, I want to do that. For most people, it's other people saying like, you should try it.
Yeah. I had other people say, yeah, you should try it. And then I was like, oh, I should look. And he was the first comic. I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. Yeah, this is the guy. And he
still responds to me to this day. I mean, I know he responds to almost everybody.
Yeah.
But still, if I reach out to him on social media, he'll still write me back.
Yeah, he's not doing too much.
Yeah, but I mean, he was.
He was huge.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we're almost the same age. I'm a little older, but.
And we always, all of us, like people
dude sold
our
out Madison
age,
Square Garden like 10 times in a row.
And everybody started like, shitting on him because they're like, oh, you like Dane Cook?
Yeah.
Oh. But now we're all getting older and we're all just like coming out of the closet just like, no, I like Dane Cook.
I remember. still do. That fucking high spit.
Yeah, the high spit.
Yeah.
The car
walking
alarm.
down Main Street in a AK-47. Where's the band? The band was supposed to be here, dude.
He was funny, and we're, you know what? Get over our cool egos. We're not cool anymore.
Yeah, fuck that. It was, and like I still love Mitch Hedberg, Tom Rhodes. Like I love Dave Attell, obviously one of the greatest. But and we respect them, but still, you throw one of Dane's first albums on, you're still gonna laugh.
You're still gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not cool to not like them anymore.
It's like when your
Just
parents
admit
get older
it.
and then they start listening to like what was considered the poppy music back in their day. And when they were young, they're like, no, fuck this. It's Led Zeppelin all the way.
Yeah, it's not cool.
Yeah.
I gotta be cool for
And then
my
you go
kids.
home and they're listening to Garfunkel and Oates, and you're like, what happened here?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't need to be cool.
What happened
anymore.
to GNR, man? What happened to the Guns N' Roses? So someone tells you, hey, you should try stand-up. And now how far are you from, like, a scene, a major city? Like, how did you go about doing this?
I was like...
What year is this, by the way?
This
if you don't
is
mind me
probably 08.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like 08. Yeah, so I go and I did it at the Comedy Castle. I did the open mic. It was like an hour drive.
Okay. And that's where you recorded the album?
Yeah, that's where I did the
Full
album.
circle.
Mhm.
Wow, so that was really where you started.
Yeah, that's where I started. Yeah, the first time getting on stage was there because it's the only club that I knew of.
Yeah. And what city is that in?
It's Royal Oak, Michigan. It was just a suburb of Detroit.
Okay.
So I go up there and I bombed terribly.
Yeah. Love
And
it.
I had printed all my jokes on a sheet of paper.
Printed it.
Yeah,
So you
I-
had the small type.
Yep, I printed it and I'm holding the piece of paper and you could see it shaking. My
Really?
hand's shaking,
Was it all the jokes written out like script, or was it just a set list?
They were written out. I had like
Okay.
written their like
Wow,
paragraphs. And
bold.
yeah. And I was like, I have stage fright too.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. So this was just like, I'm taking the jump and I'm shaking and I'm bombing and just off the cuff. Granted, it's 08. You can make crass jokes.
Oh yeah. You can get away with that.
I just go, I'm shaking like Michael J. Fox up here.
Oh.
And that,
hey!
yeah, and that gets the crowd like goes, hey, they like laugh at that. That's my
Yeah.
only one. And just hearing the laugh, I was like, oh, that's my new drug. The only laugh I got was that awful line. But hearing, a group of strangers laugh, I was like, oh, okay, this is what I want then.
Okay, so it just took that one time.
Yeah, all
That's
the other
beautiful.
jokes didn't. Anything I wrote bombed.
Bombed.
Everything pre-planned was bad.
God.
I had a joke about soup. Nobody likes it. It was about how soup's getting wild.
Oh no.
It goes, they got these hearty soups. These
Oh,
chunky
I
soups.
get where you're going with it.
They're not even soups anymore.
This is a meal.
Yeah,
it's a meal in a can.
It's just a wet potato.
It's the future.
Everyone's like, all right, this sucks.
Do you still do the soup bit?
No, I haven't done that.
Oh God, bring it back.
I might bring it back. I think it's got legs.
Yeah. I mean, the premise itself is kind of, I like it.
These soups. They're not
It's one of those
soups.
things where it's obvious, but no one thought of it.
Right. Yeah.
And those are my favorite when it's like, it was right there the whole
Yeah.
fucking time.
This is just a damn pasta.
So you do the open mic, you get
Mhm.
that laugh, you love it. You're like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So what are the next steps? Do you like look in? Are you going to school at the time? Do you look into?
Yeah, I was going to college to.
Okay.
I was going to be a cop.
Oh wow. Okay.
That always surprises people.
Yeah, that's out
Yep.
of left field.
I was going to fight crime. I was ready to go.
In the Detroit area. That's
Yep. And I don't know what I was thinking. I'm also afraid of guns. I don't.
Are you?
Yeah. I've held a gun once.
Oh wow.
And it was a pistol. It was my buddy's pistol. I didn't know how heavy they were.
Yeah.
Guns are heavy.
They're loud too.
They're so
People never, because video games, movies, it's like when people say, this is kind of crass, but when they talk about like porn and stuff, and they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
but you can't smell porn. It's the same
Yeah,
thing with like
sure.
guns. It's like you see it on TV, you play it in video games, but it's like you don't feel and like hear it until you're like live in the room.
Yeah.
And it's so loud.
Yeah.
So even if you're outside, it's like.
Yeah. So I remember you let me hold one. I was like, this is really heavy. And I remember he just went.
Yeah, it takes lives.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, because it's loaded too. And I went, this is loaded? And I remember I panicked and I just tossed it away.
You tossed a loaded gun?
I know, I threw a loaded gun.
God, we haven't even gotten into the fucked up stories yet.
Well, and he was like, what are you doing?
Oh my God, you're gonna see me over here. I'm just gonna I make little notes throughout the episode, so
Yeah.
don't think I'm ignoring you or texting
Oh,
or
not at
anything.
all.
I always like to do that though because like just now. It's loaded too. That might be the name of the episode. That might be the clip right there.
I didn't know. But yeah, I was going to be, so I don't know what I was thinking. I was going to be a cop.
I was gonna be a cop fighting crime in
yeah,
Detroit.
right. I did the ride-alongs and all that stuff.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did the ride-alongs.
So was the gun situation before or after the ride-alongs?
It was, when was this?
I would assume after, just because like
it
you do
was
the
after. Yeah.
And then as soon as you hold the gun, you're like, never mind.
Yeah. I was like already like the
On the
comedy
fence.
thing had happened, and then that like, me holding the gun, I was like, and then that kind of pushed me more into the comedy direction.
Yeah. So were you actually going to like the police academy?
I was like super close.
Okay, because you said college for being a cop, so I didn't
Yeah.
know if you were already in the police
I got like an
academy.
associate's in criminal justice.
Okay.
I was doing the ride-alongs. I was in the police helicopter. Did all that
Ooh,
crap.
that's cool.
It was really cool.
That you don't hear about those ride-alongs.
They don't do anything up there. They have to like hit certain hours in the helicopter,
Yeah.
to get whatever their money, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they
Well,
just
it's
go
like, we all saw that episode of The Office. If you don't use the budget surplus, you lose it.
Yeah. So they'll go up the helicopter. They go,
We're
there's
just gonna waste an hour of fuel, guys.
that's what they do. They go, we gotta hit our hours. Anyways, what do you want to do? Do you want to see Eminem's house? And
Did you really go see Eminem's
they
house?
flew me over Eminem's
Huge fan of Eminem. Huge shout out to Marshall. Love Marshall. I have a bunch of bits about how like. Oh,
Do you
love
really?
it. Yeah.
I flew over his house. It was
Yeah,
funny. They're like,
that's-
that's where he lives. They look pretty cool. I was like, yeah. And he's like, where do you want to go now? And he just took me. There's nothing to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, and especially too, because like sometimes with the helicopters out here, it's like there's 8 million people in New York. Like, do you
Yeah.
think you're gonna find them?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in the helicopter? Like I don't know, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, but at least up here, their helicopters, like there's crime to look at or
Yeah, that's
find
true.
maybe. Over in Michigan, they're like, we're around the woods
Well,
area.
yeah, because you're in the suburbs, so you're not in Detroit.
yeah,
proper.
we're in Oakland County.
Yes.
So they're just like nothing.
You want to go see Eminem's house?
Yeah. Kid Rock lives not too far from here.
Let's go.
yeah.
Oh man, so decided not to do the cop thing.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do the cop thing.
So were you just doing that one open mic? Were you just driving an hour every week to do that open mic?
I would do that one. Well, then I slowly found other ones. There was like, you find like the
Yeah.
bar ones.
It's always so bizarre too, because it doesn't matter how small the area is. You're
Mhm.
there's always somebody in an area that wants to do comedy.
Yeah, there's these little hidden gems.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's a bar here, a bar there. And I slowly figured out where to go every day.
Okay.
And yeah, it was like 45 to an hour drive
Jeez.
every time because everything was so far.
But you love doing it, so you're just like, this
yeah.
is it.
Yeah, it was like the only thing I kept doing.
Okay.
Like I've quit everything else.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'm stuck with. And I'm like, well, that probably means something.
Yeah. I'm in the exact same boat. I've quit literally almost every single thing else.
That's hilarious.
And
yeah.
it's just kind of like, nah. Like, he's going to go to law school, fucking ditched out on that.
Were you going to go to law school?
Yeah.
That was in the back of my mind.
Was it?
For the cop part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'll do a cop, then maybe I'll go be a lawyer.
Yeah, it was interesting because it's like you think when you're like, that's the bizarre thing about college is it's like when you get there, they're like, have your whole life planned out.
It's wild.
Like right when you walk in the door,
Mhm.
you have to pick a major and like get everything sorted.
yeah.
And that was the thing is like I got there and my uncle who's come up on the show before, he was like, you should get a business degree. You can always use that. Like business is smart.
That's
Like do
smart.
business.
Yeah.
So because they ask you for your major off the bat. So was like business administration.
Uh-huh.
And I took a political science class as like a elective, like
Mhm.
just to take. And I loved it so much. I was like, oh no, I want to do this. And everyone was
Ah.
like, don't, there's no money in it. Unless you go to law school, it's not going to matter. Don't do it. And I did it anyway. And then,
yeah, now you realize there's still no
yeah,
money.
I'm
in
like,
it.
oh, great, cool. I'm going to be a waiter and for the rest of my life until
Yep.
comedy works out.
Same here.
So where did you when did you get the idea to go to Chicago? Because you were already in school, so it's not like Maddie was on here. Maddie Weiner, very funny comic, and she
I know Maddie. Yeah.
yeah, she went to Chicago to go to college because of the comedy scene. But you were already doing all that. So what brought you to Chicago?
Yeah, I had dropped out of college.
Yeah,
And I
hell
was like,
yeah.
screw this, which is great. What a decision. Oh, so happy
Yeah.
with it. I have no student loans.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
You
can't
know?
tell if you're being sarcastic, but as someone who went and took out loans and did the fucking rat race, and now I'm not even using the degrees.
Yeah.
It's like miserable.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah, I got
oh.
nothing. I came out no debt, doing great. Drop out of college. Anyways.
You heard it here first,
Yeah,
folks.
this is for the kids that are in college. Get out of there, save your money.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then I was doing it there for a little bit, and then I went to LA first
Oh, really?
I tried to do LA for like 6 months. I was out in LA.
That came out of left field.
Yeah.
Because when we were talking before, you had mentioned Chicago, you mentioned New York, you mentioned Michigan.
LA is just a little blip because I was only there for like 6 months.
No, but we got to talk. What?
I went out there.
So you're in Michigan. You're like, I'm gonna do comedy.
Yeah.
I've been doing. How long have you been doing it at this point?
It's like a year in, maybe.
Okay, so you're a year in. Obviously,
Like Circuit City went out of business, and I
God.
was like, "That's a calling.
Rest in
That's
peace.
a sign.
That's a
I should
sign
move
from God.
yeah.
I'm on a mission from God.
Yeah, he killed Circuit City so I could move.
So, were you saving money this whole time because you knew you were gonna move, or did you?
I had saved some money.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere. I think.
And then L.A.
Go to L.A. Crash in a buddy's.
I was gonna say, take me through it.
Yeah,
'cause
crash in a
that's-
buddy's place. He already had a buddy also moving to L.A., so there was 3 dudes in a room.
One bedroom.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah, there
one
was.
bedroom.
That's how you do L.A., baby.
Yep. I couldn't, and then couldn't find a job. Nobody's hiring.
Yeah.
The economy tanked, and then
Oh yeah, this is
yeah,
09, yeah.
It's like 2009.
Everything's in the shit.
Yeah, everything's in the shitter. I drive out there. I can't parallel park either. I don't
Ooh.
know how to do that.
I mean, neither.
Yeah, you don't do that in Michigan. There's no parallel
Yeah,
parking.
you don't do it in Florida either.
So I was like, I can't leave the apartment. I'll get like a spot. And I was
Yeah,
like,
'cause
well,
you
I
don't-
can't drive to a mic because I don't know how to park.
And there's no, I mean, there is public transportation, but it's not like here.
It's awful. Yeah, it's terrible in LA. So I remember I did like 2 open mics.
Where
And-
at? Do you remember?
I can't. I like remember what it looked like, but I can't remember the name of the place. It was somewhere on Santa Monica Boulevard. I
Of
think.
course it was. Santa
Yeah.
Monica.
It was on Santa Monica. But yeah, I go there and I do fine. But it was just so I don't know. It's so intimidating.
Yeah. And you're only a year in, so it's
Yeah,
not
I'm
like
a
you
year
got an
in.
hour of material.
Right, I'm not great or nothing. So I was like, oh. And then I was there for 6 months, and I was like, I hated LA.
So where did you end up getting a job? Because you obviously had to have.
Oh, I
had to
didn't. I
find-
just lived off unemployment for 6 months.
Wait, California unemployment?
That was like getting Michigan's unemployment.
Oh, because Circuit City went out of business.
Mhm.
Oh.
So I milked that as long as I could.
Here we go. There
Yep.
we go.
Yep. It's just in there. Just smoked a lot of California weed.
Yeah.
I did hardly any comedy. So after 6 months of that, I was like, I don't think I'm doing what I meant to, what I came
Yeah.
out here to do.
I feel like that sometimes here. Because,
Yeah.
like, I'm so adamant about making sure the podcast is on point and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's hard when you've been doing it for a while to, like, go back to doing open mics. No matter what scene you're in, it's still kind of, like,
It's super hard to,
demoralizing.
like,
It's
restart,
like,
yeah.
So there's a part of me since we moved here where it's like, when we first got here, I was, like, hitting open mics, like, 2-3 times a day on my days off.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the holidays, and I work in a restaurant, so it was busy. And I was like, I'll hang out at the stand with other comics, and I'll do the podcast, and then I'll figure out, like, whatever later.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got out of the routine of doing mics, and now I'm kind of like, fuck, I got to go start doing those again.
Yeah.
Because, you get booked shows, but unless you're a paid regular at a club, those are, 2-3 times a month maybe. So it's like,
Yeah,
got to
they're
keep
few and far
working.
between.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I understand that sentiment that you're saying when you got out to California. You're like, I don't think this is why I moved here.
Yeah. You just like don't do it, and then you just like you get that little like flash of future where you're just like, oh no, I'm just a waiter at a restaurant.
Yeah.
One of these. You see them all over
yeah.
LA.
Oh, yeah.
They're just,
I work with a lot of them.
yeah.
Where it's like, why did you come to New York? And everyone's got these big grand plans. And it's like, well, what happened? They're like, I was making such good money here. I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do this.
Yeah, you just see it everywhere.
And I'm
It's
like, that's not the reason, though.
You're like, oh, when did you come here to achieve those dreams? They're like, it's been about 30 years.
Yeah. God, I met so many people, 10 years, 12 years, 8 years, and it's like, oh, boy.
Yeah. And so, see, like that and all that, I was like, freaked. I was like, I gotta try again. So I just went back to Michigan to like
Reset.
Yeah, I did a reset there for a few months. And then I was like, I'll go to Chicago. Because it was like, well, either New York or should I go to New York now? But after LA, I was like, I'm too scared.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll do a little starter city.
Yeah.
A little practice city in Chicago.
Big, but not intimidating.
Right, big, still Midwest vibes.
Yeah.
I get the weird, passive aggressive culture still.
Yeah.
We're still in the middle of the country. I don't need a car. They have trains.
Yeah. So you were just like, this is it.
Yeah, I'll do this, and I did that for like 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
yeah.
So you really.
Yeah, and Chicago's got like a great one of the best scenes.
Yeah, we had one of our Jacksonville guys went up there, Forrest Scott. He started doing this After Dark show up there and everything. Yeah, so he's the only link I have to Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's from Jacksonville but went to Chicago. I think he's still up there, but
nice. Maddie Weiner, Chicago.
Yeah, we talked about that with her. That's the only reason she said she went to school in Chicago was because of the comedy scene.
Yeah,
she
got
said
a
literally
great
that
scene.
was the only reason she went there.
Mm-hmm. It's probably either third or fourth, I'd say.
Yeah, well, with Second
scene-wise.
City and the improv roots and all that kind of stuff. It's huge.
Yeah, and we got a Laugh Factory, and there's the Zanies out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because people a lot of times will be like, "Oh, why New York? Like it's so expensive. Like why didn't you go to?" Like people ask me, "Why didn't you go to Atlanta or Chicago?" It's like, because I've been doing this. I'm to the point now where it's like it's fucking New York, LA, or like fucking find a new dream.
Yeah. It's like, I gotta go.
Because there's a certain point where you get past that, like, okay, I need to do a starter city now. It's like you spent too much time in the first starter city. Like, you got to jump now to the main boss. Like, you don't have time to go in between.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, I got lucky with some starter city time.
Yeah.
So then I came here from Chicago.
When did you move here?
It's been about, I think, 5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was nice coming from Chicago because, like, it was during a big Chicago wave of
Yeah,
people.
so you knew a lot of people.
Yeah, I knew a lot of
stuff
people. And then you come over here, and everyone would be like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'd be like, "Chicago," and they'd roll their eyes, like, "Ugh, another one of you guys." Because we were all just coming over, and all the Chicago comics were like, we're all good because we had a lot of stage time in Chicago.
Yeah.
So then
That's what Maddie said. There's tons of stage time.
Yeah, there's tons of stage time out there. So we come over, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna come over here, take our spots, and drink everything," because they're all alcoholics too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like it's just like how New York was with the wave of immigrants from Ireland and then Italy. And now it's the same thing with comedians. Like whenever a big wave comes from another city, they're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah. Like, get out of here. You're going to take up all of our shit.
Chicago comedians need not apply for this set.
Yeah, we would come over here and all of us would just get hammered.
Yeah. Drinking all our booze, taking all our spots.
Yep. Yeah. Huge drinking city.
God, it's...
Because it's freezing cold. Nothing to do.
And it's like painful cold there.
Yeah. And
it's not like here... It's cold, but it's not
not bad at all. No.
Yeah. Especially like today, it's like 40, and I'm like, oh,
it's
this is
nice.
Yeah,
this is nice.
Sun's out, guns out, baby.
I'm used to in Chicago we would like get negative 18 degrees. They'd be
Fuck
like,
you.
You can only be outside for 10 minutes.
Or you're gonna die.
Yeah, you're gonna start losing your skin. Oh, cool.
God.
So I guess we'll get hammered.
We'll just stay inside and get hammered.
Yeah.
Cool. So then you come to New York about 5 years ago, and then what happened when you got here? Were you just hit the ground running, or did you have to reset? Because in my experience, like we talked about, I had to reset.
Yeah, there was some resetting. Yeah. There was like there's resetting, mostly a little bit of like knowing Chicago people already having shows.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a little bit sped up, but not like right away.
It wasn't streamlined like right when you got here.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
Time to go.
Yeah, I've still been. Yeah, it's still like claw my way in.
Yeah, and that
still
can
clawing.
Be, yeah, I was gonna say that can be disheartening. That can be disheartening because it's one of those things where, like we were talking about earlier, where it's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I got this whole scene on lockdown, and then all of a sudden you go to a new scene and it's like I got to start over.
Yeah.
And then you get here and it's like, all right, I came from a big city. I know some people. And it's like, no, go fuck yourself. You got to start over.
Even if you get booked on the shows, like I'd be like, oh, I'm starting to get booked on some shows. This will get the ball rolling. They'll see me. And then you go to do the show that you've been like ready. Like, this is my only show of the week.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, yeah, all the big names, they got to go up early because they got other spots. You're going to be closing us out. And then everyone will have left by then.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. You're just like,
well, I got
cool.
lucky because Steven ended up staying. Rogers, but that was the same, like the Hell Yeah show that we just did. That's the thing. It's like I was like promoting the shit out of it, and I was like, I have one cousin that lives up here, and she's lived up here for a while, and she's one of those, she's super popular.
Yeah.
So like she invited a bunch of friends, and so I was like, this is it. This is my big chance. And then like the first like 2 or 3 comics that went up were like, all right, we're out of here. We'll see you later. Nice to meet you. And I was like, no, you have to see my set so you can vouch for me at the cellar.
Yeah, nobody watches your set.
You can't vouch for me if you don't see it.
Yeah.
Everyone leaves. Fucking the other, I love the Hell Yeah guys. I've had most of them on, but even some of them are like in the back, like on their phones. And I'm like, You guys have never even seen me perform other than an open mic. Like, what's
Right?
happening?
Yeah, please just watch me so
Yeah.
you know that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing, too, is you go to some of these open mics, and so there's people who produce shows that also run open mics.
Yeah.
And at open mics, I'm always like, oh, I'm going to try new material. Like, that's why I go to open mics, is to do new material.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it turns into this thing where it's like, are you okay? It turns into this thing, though, where it's like you're at an open mic and you're like, no, I swear to God, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I know how to do comedy. Like, please don't judge me from this.
But they're watching you like do something new.
like bomb, and it's
yeah.
like, yeah, and you're like, no. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I'm better at this.
Yeah, can I do your show now? And they're like,
Yeah.
no, you bombed. Like, yeah, but I didn't want to do my good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've had other fucking comics, like open mic comics, like get on stage. So, like, if I have a show coming up or something, like, important, I'll run that set. And then I've had other comics come up after me at open mics, like, go on stage after me, and they'll be like, yeah, I work on new material at open mics. That's what I'm supposed to do.
No.
And I'm like, I don't know if you're saying that because your first two jokes just bombed, or if you're saying that because you know the bits that I was running are my real material. Like, you can tell it was my material. But fuck you either way.
Yeah. The amount of insecurity in comedians.
Yeah, it's insane. So I wanted to get some of these stories. We lots of drugs on here.
Yeah. You said you're sober, right? You
Yeah.
just said you are?
Yeah,
I've been a year.
Yeah, so sorry about that, everybody. Technical difficulties. Maya decided to literally shit on the podcast.
Yep. You're talking. Let's talk about drug stories. And
Yeah.
then she
was
took a
like,
drug poop.
She literally was like freaking out, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. But I was telling you, she got in the trash the other day, and so her stomach's been really bothering her.
Yeah,
but
well.
that's why I need a studio. So, hey, everyone I've sent fucking emails to.
Yeah, get this man a studio.
God. I was like, I'll pay. I do all my own producing. I just need a space away from my girlfriend and my dog. Like, I got all my own equipment. I got everything. Just give me a space. No, can't get back to me. God, I hate New York, man. I fucking hate it. Like, I love it, but I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
I got big timed by a couple open micers about the podcast, too.
That sounds about right.
And I'm like, the fuck is happening around here?
You've been here for how long was it?
6 months, 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah, it took me about a year.
That's what everyone tells me.
Yeah, it's like 1 year, and you're like, okay, you start to settle in. But that first year, you hate this place.
I hate it so. I can't tell, and you'll appreciate this because you have Midwestern values. I can't tell if people are so self-involved or they're just idiots. I've gone to some of the same open mics like 4 or 5 times, and people that I've seen and met 4 or 5 times will walk in and be like, hey, is this where the open mic is?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I know your name. Like, I know your bits. Like, what?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. I think it's self-involvement, and then sometimes people you just can't. There's so many new names and people you see. Their brains are just like, we can't process it, and then they just hold on to like 8 people. Then everybody else are just like, I don't know.
It's so bizarre to me because I'm like, we've met like several times.
Yeah.
We sat at an open mic together for an hour and a half and talked back and forth. And then they'll walk in and be like, hey, are you here for the open mic? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's...
Like, I remember a guest in the restaurant if they come in more than twice a month.
Yeah?
Like, how do you know what I mean, though? It's like, I recognize you. It's like,
well, also maybe like at the open mics, maybe or when they're talking to you, they're hopped up on goofballs or something.
That's true. Speaking of hopped up on goofballs.
We got our sober brains.
Are you sober?
Yeah, I'll be a year in February.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that. That works out perfect for the podcast.
Yeah, well, those stories
We're
help
gonna
me
get into
there.
it. So what was your kind of drug of choice? Was it, because mine was cocaine and booze.
Yeah, mine was booze.
Yeah.
I had a little bout. I had an ecstasy run.
Okay, yeah, you have that on here.
Yeah, I had a little ecstasy tear. That one I just stopped.
When was that?
That was
that in Michigan, Chicago, here?
That was Michigan.
Okay.
That was
teenage years?
It was before comedy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like maybe a year before it.
How did you get in? Like, what happened?
Buddy got in. He was like, we should do ecstasy. He was like, and he got like a test kit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You're
responsible?
Yeah, we would test the ecstasy. I feel so old calling it ecstasy now.
I was about to say the same thing. But I'm in the same boat you are, man. Bad Boys 2. It was ecstasy.
Yeah, everyone now was
remembers.
like, do some Molly.
Yeah.
I'm like, back in my
MDMA.
day. Yeah, it used to
What is that? Well, it's pure ecstasy.
Yeah.
I like ecstasy just fine the way it is.
That's right. Yeah, so we would do that like every weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long was that going on?
Probably maybe a year. It wasn't a ton. But it definitely, you start to get drained. You're like, oh no, all my serotonin.
Serotonin just sucks right out of you.
Yeah, so we'd like, we were like, I don't know. He was very chemisty about it. He would test the ecstasy, like, all right, this stuff's good. Then at the next day, he was like, all right, I got some serotonin pills you can get from
5-HTP.
Yeah, we would
I
take
got that in that little fucking basket over there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
we would take that the next day to refill our brains.
I take that as a supplement because it also helps as a mood stabilizer.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, and even though I'm sober, I fly off the handle with uncontrollable rage.
Oh.
So I take that to kind of level it out.
Well, you're right.
They make jokes at work because I'll just break glasses.
Really?
Like, yeah, because I don't like giving bad service. So if I start to get overwhelmed, I'll fucking just.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. We deal differently with bad service.
But no, so I know the stuff you're talking about, the supplements that you can take to refill the serotonin.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
we take the serotonin, and then we would do this every weekend, and then it just started getting too much, and then my one buddy was like, no, he got some, and it was like, my buddy tested it, and he's like, it's not, this is mostly speed. He's like, yeah, but I still want to do it, and you're like,
wow, so that's okay. So that's when you test it, how does the test kit work? Because in all the years I was doing drugs, we never tested anything. And thank God I got out when I did, because now fentanyl's everywhere.
Yeah. It was something like you would just like add a chemical, like a color would appear or something, and he would know. And then that one, he was like, this is mostly, I don't want to take speed. And then they got into an argument. And then
speed over ecstasy.
Yeah, or just like
I just want to get fucked up.
Yeah, like this good enough, and then I was like in the middle. I was like, oh, I don't know. And then, I didn't want my butt, so I was like, I guess I'll take it with you. And then so then we like ended up almost just taking just speed, and holy smokes.
Tell me about it.
It's just like we were just sitting there just talking a mile. You already talk a lot on ecstasy.
Yeah.
But this was just like a mile a minute. I'm just being like, hey, do you want to run? I just want to run. And we should
start a business. Let's start a business.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. And then I was like, I'm just gonna run as fast as I can. And I'd run and come back like, that felt great. And then we were just up all night till the next day.
God.
And that one I was like, I think I'm just gonna stop.
So after that you were done.
Yeah, after that, and then I just kind of just stopped.
Okay.
And I just fell out of ecstasy.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because in all the drugs that I've done and all the different experiences that I've had when it comes to that kind of stuff, I've noticed that I'm like a true blue alcoholic, because with drugs, I could do them and then just be like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But with alcohol, it was like once it started, there was no stopping.
Yeah. Once you start, you're like, let's just keep going.
Yeah, it's just going to happen all night long.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start drinking? Was that like as a teenager in high school, or?
Yeah, I was drinking just like right out of high school, towards the end of high school.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I just kept. The drinking took off in Chicago.
Okay, yeah, that's what you said. There's nothing to do but drink.
Yeah, that's where it took off. Because it's also just like I never had to. Or I was always like pretty responsible with stuff, you know, like, oh, I got to drive, I can't.
Oh, okay.
I
got 2 DUIs.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was very like strict on that,
Yeah.
like disciplined with that type of stuff. But then once I moved to Chicago, I was like, oh, I can just train now?
Yeah.
I don't got to worry about any of that?
Just get fucked up.
Let's just go hard. And I just went.
I see these guys on the subway all the time with the brown paper bags, like passed out.
Mm-hmm.
People walk by and they're like, oh, I feel so bad for him. I go, you feel... This dude's never going to get a DUI ever in his life.
Never have to worry about it. You
Ever.
you just get blackout hammered, and you can just like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And you can
I'll
just
stumble into the train, pass out, wake up the next day, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'll wake up and I go, oh, I'm by the train already.
Yeah.
It's great. So Chicago, that's when it took off.
Chicago, man.
Yeah. There was times of just like, A lot of blackouts in Chicago.
Okay.
I was a blackout drinker.
Yeah, me too. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah,
You're gonna do it.
That's how
do
you
it.
know to end.
Yeah, that's how you know the night's over.
Yeah.
When you wake up the next day and you're like, "How did I get into my bed?"
Exactly. Yeah. You look. There was times I had on there when I look and I would be like, "How did I get home? I rode my bike."
Yeah,
And then
talk
you look
about
over.
that. You put drunk bike.
Yeah, and I look over and my bike would be there, and they're like, "Oh, I rode my bike last night," and just have no idea.
Well, and that's the other thing too is it's balancing on a bike is actually incredibly difficult when you're hammered.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you for doing it.
Yeah, I would black out.
It's
bike
a lot
ride
easier
home.
to drive in a car than it is to bike ride blacked out drunk.
I guess I don't know. I don't have a ton of remembering of doing it. I just remembered
I'm just saying
it just worked.
the times I've had a couple of drinks and gotten on a bike,
Mm-hmm.
because after I got my first DUI, I was biking everywhere. And the times that I had a couple of pops and jumped on the bike, I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, this isn't like I'm like,
You're all wobbly.
oh yeah."
I got good at it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, you did.
I like drinking and riding a bike was fun. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, oh,
It's real common in the beach areas in Florida. Like everyone's
it?
like, yeah, they get cup holders in their goddamn on their
yeah.
beach
You just
cruises.
slowly cruise, you
Yeah.
know, and if it's late enough, which usually Chicago at 4 a.m. bars,
Yeah,
so there's no traffic. You can just kind of like, not worry about it. The whole road's yours.
just fucking
just
out there owning it.
Yeah, hammered on a bike.
So that was the train and the biking was your main mode of transportation in Chicago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would bike and then I would take their subway system's decent.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never needed a car. I never brought a car there.
Oh, so you never even had a vehicle to get in trouble in.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, see, that's smart. That's what I love about being up here is because when I fall off the wagon, which I inevitably will, there's no risk of... No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, everybody. Comedy podcast.
You're going to get a whole bunch of emails now.
Yeah, my sponsor's going to be like, hey, I listen to your podcast, right? And you're like, God damn it. The thrown out of the bar, was that in Chicago
That
as
was
well?
also Chicago.
God, you just got in all sorts of trouble.
That's where it took off. That was just because I was like free to drink.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden I was like, now I can just go.
What happened with the...
The bar?
Yeah.
It was also it's new city and it's hard to meet new people.
Oh, it's impossible.
So you just get hammered. In Chicago's a drinking town. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I got to get to know all these comics. And
Let's get fucked up.
Yeah, let's get fucked up with them.
Yeah.
So that's just what I would do, and it was me, and me, a buddy of mine, the girl I was dating, and a comic, an older comic, like an established, like he's a big deal in the scene, and he was a huge drinker.
I want to guess so bad who it was, but I won't.
I'll tell you after.
Big drinker, Chicago comic.
Mm-hmm. And
You can narrow this down.
yeah, there's like 80 of them. But he's like, you want to go to this other bar, and it's a 4 a.m. bar.
Yeah.
After the mic I ran, and I was like, yeah, you want to, I was like, I'm hanging out with him, so we're just pounding drinks. We go to this 4 a.m. bar.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't drink anymore, but if I'm hanging out with, like, an established comedian, whether it's here or in Florida or wherever, I'm like, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, whatever you want to keep drinking, I'll keep drinking. So
I'll throw away my sobriety to hang out with you. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw everything away. So we're drinking there.
Will you put me on your podcast?
And we're there drinking. I can't remember the name of the bar, but
So after hours bar, you're
after
there
hours
with this
bar, we're in
established
like a
comedian,
booth. Yeah, the four
your
of us are in a
girlfriend,
booth.
yeah, and then a friend.
And some random guy just walks up to me, like to the table, and just like he grabbed the back of my head to like I guess slam it down into the table like a
Just cuz?
like a roadhouse move.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm following the move, but
And-
why?
But he was hammered too, I guess. So it was just kind
Was
of
this a friend or you said
just a random guy,
Yeah.
random guy, and it was just kind of a light, gentle push.
So he's just pushing your
Yeah,
head?
he just kind of. I was just like, "What's happening?" and then my head hits the table, and I pop up, and then there are all three of my friends, and they were like, "What the fuck, dude?" And I was like, "What was that?" And he's like, "Fuck you, man!" Like he was trying to fight. He was just looking
He was
for
just
a
looking
fight.
for a fight.
Yeah. And he thought he was like, that guy could probably. I could take that little guy.
Hey, I almost was a cop, man. You
Yeah,
better
yeah.
Back the fuck off.
If there's a gun in here, I won't touch it, but I'll look at it.
I'll throw it across the room.
Yeah, I'll throw it at you. So then they're like,
If
all
there's a gun in here, I'll throw it at you.
so like the comic and all my friends are like, we're all yelling at this guy, and he's like, "Fuck you!" And then the bouncer guy steps in to throw this guy out.
Yeah.
And he's like telling the other comic, my friends, to calm down. He's like throwing
Yeah.
the guy out. And
All
I don't know.
All right, calm down. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, but I'm so blacked out. I was like, what happened? Why did he do it? I just had to know why. So I kept getting in between him and the bouncer.
Oh no.
And you don't do that. So I kept like pushing the bouncer, like, no, but why? Is there something I said? Like
I just want to know why.
and it just looks like I'm trying to start shit, but I'm just like being this friendly. What can I do to right this wrong? And the bouncer's getting pissed off at me because I'm being so annoying.
Yeah, the bouncer's like, back the fuck up,
Yeah,
buddy.
back the fuck up. I'm throwing this guy out, and I won't leave it alone.
I need to know why.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, he throws the
It's
guy
like
out.
that in high school when you like your first love and then you guys break up and then you're like, I don't know about you, but I was always just like, why?
Yeah, why?
Why would this happen?
Please tell me.
I thought you loved me. So you're doing this to the guy at the bar.
Yeah, and then they throw the guy at the bar out, and then they're walking, and I just wouldn't leave the bouncer alone.
What were you telling the bouncer?
I just kept going, why do you think he did it?
Oh,
Why?
God.
I
want to throw you out now just for fucking listening
so
to this.
annoying. And eventually, after like a few more minutes of that, he goes, all right, you're fucking out too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised it took a Chicago bouncer a few more minutes.
Yeah, he gave me a few more. I was still being very polite.
Yeah. You're being super sweet. You're just you're wondering why.
Yeah. I get
don't
thrown
know.
out of bars for being annoying.
Yeah. Not for starting fights or
Nope.
violence, just being annoying.
No violence at all. I just annoyed my way out of the bar that we all
that's
got
insane.
kicked out.
I want to let's talk about this bad trip on shrooms. When did that happen?
Oh, the shrooms. Shrooms took place after ecstasy.
Had you only done it the one time? This bad trip?
I've done them like
Okay.
I
so
did
you
them
had-
before.
yeah.
I haven't done them in a while now, but I used to like do them once a year.
Okay. That's a common thing I hear.
Yeah, you like clear your brain up. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be good for depression or whatever. But I haven't. Yeah, it's been a while.
So what happened with the bad trip?
That one was we started getting into those, and then we took them. Me and some friends took them in a park. We went to a park.
Yeah. You got to be in nature.
Yeah, you got to be in nature.
Dan Lamort says you got to be in nature.
Mhm.
So.
Yep. Of course, Dan would say you got to be in nature.
So Central Park is
Yep.
where we went.
We went to a park, and this was in Michigan too. And I remember we were all just laying on our backs, kicking our feet up in the air.
Oh wow.
You know, very indie movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And something, so all of a sudden, like, you know, it didn't make sense. I was like, why are feet in the air? And then my brain, you know, when your brain can't process.
Yeah.
And I was like, this
You're
doesn't-
doing the bouncer move all over again.
Yeah. I was like, feet don't belong. Why are the feet in the air? And I
Yeah.
freaked out. And then I just took off running.
You just got up and started
I
running?
just got up and started running. And then they're like, what are you doing? And then they chase, you know.
Yeah, after you.
And then when you're being chased, you're like, why am I being chased?
And you're in a panic now.
Yeah, you panic even more. And then, yeah, the whole trip was me, like, not letting anyone near me.
Oh, God.
And just every time they try to get close, I'd run off again.
Jeez. So they're just chasing you around this big park. In Michigan.
Yeah, the big park and just me. And then, like, after hours of that, I just agreed to let one friend. I was like, okay, you, only you.
Can come near me.
Yes, I just take one. And then it was just me and my buddy Tyler. We were just like
Just
me
talking?
and him. Yeah, we were just me and him talking. And then all of a sudden somebody would try to get close. Like, we gotta run. Come on. I would just make sure.
You know the rules.
You know the rules. Nobody else. And then,
Just Tyler.
yeah, just this crazy trip mind. And then just not letting anybody near us until slowly started to calm down. And then
God, that's an intense trip.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
A lot
man.
of fun.
A lot of fun. Keeping my friends away, not trusting anybody.
I joke. I forget who was on the podcast, but we joked about it. Like when you used to do like a bunch of coke, and then you'd like just stare at your people and like freak yourself out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "That sounds miserable." It's like I know it sounds miserable, but in the moment, you're like, "This is fun."
Yeah, it's cool.
Like,
It's exciting.
yeah.
It's like you're in a movie.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Who the fuck's coming around the corner?
Right? Yeah. Here comes my buddy. And then you just yell at him, stop. I
Don't
remember
move.
My buddy started trying to walk towards like me and my other buddy. And we are like, no further. Stop. And then like he like hit a force field. He was so high on shrooms, he fell over. Like,
Oh God.
he just went, whoa, and he fell. Then we
That's
took off running.
So you moved to the city, and then you started because you said you're sober now. You're coming up on a year.
Yeah.
What was kind of your last? If you don't mind my asking, what was kind of the last hurrah until you were like, all right, maybe I should
The last
put a cork in this?
Putting a cork in it was I think you get older, you know.
Yeah.
You're starting to get older, and you're just like, I can't. The hangovers are getting worse.
I don't know what's happening again.
Yeah, the hangovers get worse. I can't. It's like I can't. And then the pandemic hit, and then in the beginning, we're just like
getting wasted.
Yeah, where you're getting wasted in an apartment, and it's just like you and the girl I was seeing at the time. So we're just like, you know,
you're just getting hammered by yourself.
Yeah, you're just getting hammered
because you guys were locked down up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were locked down, couldn't go anywhere.
In the South, we were like, it's fake.
Yeah, you guys could do whatever you wanted. Yeah, where we had to like
fake news.
Mm-hmm. You had your fake news, and we're like, oh, real news.
I guess people are actually dying.
Yeah,
so we're gonna stay home.
Fine. They got bodies in Central Park.
Did they really?
They set up tents. They had like medical tents, and people were like, I think there's bodies in there.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
So you were just getting hammered every day?
Yeah. Then after a while,
and then you were just kind of like, I'm over this.
Yeah. After a while of doing that, you have nothing to do. You're like, I should probably. And then you start looking inward. You're like, well, time to focus on my life, I guess. Yeah. There's nothing else to do, but let's look inward. And then I just came to the conclusion, like, I think I just need to stop.
Okay.
Because I can't.
So it wasn't like some like, oh my God, I got arrested.
I didn't have
like a terrible bottom. You were just kind of like, oh, we're done now.
Yeah. I kind of just like came to the conclusion after realizing like I can't. I can't just have a few. You know?
Yeah. It's like you drink to black out, so it's like,
right,
why would I drink in the first place?
Mm-hmm, yeah, it's like if I'm going to keep doing it like this, I don't think I can just... Like, I tried... It took a little while.
Yeah.
I was definitely like, maybe I'll just have a few, and then it just...
You wake up the next day, and you're like, that didn't work.
Yeah, like, I guess like I can't have this few.
I remember because I first started trying to get sober at like 22, and I remember... Like I would go to I specifically remember this one bar in Meisner Park I went to in South Florida with some friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had like 2 like of those giant beers because I never drank beer. I was a liquor only guy. Because it's like, if we're gonna get fucked up, let's go.
Right? Yeah.
Kyle Kinane has that awesome bit where it's like, yeah, you can drive down the highway or you could take a spaceship. Like, how do you want to get there?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I want to get there as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I was so proud of myself because I had like 2 of these like big like 32-ounce beers. But I just had 2 of them. And then I went back to my buddy's house and we like hung out. And then I went to bed. And literally I remember waking up the next day like, I'm cured. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm cured. Mm-hmm. And then I would proceeded to get like blackout drunk on rum all over again.
Yeah. It's like you have a couple like once or twice. You're like, okay, I think I can.
I got it. I got it.
I'll never. And then you're like, oh, there goes Sunday.
Yeah. There goes Sunday, Monday, Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And I had to switch. I think I switched over to beer. Because we used to, when I first started drinking, it was 151.
Ooh.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah. I remember we used to put 151 in a flask, and we were so green and, like, new to drinking. This is, like, 18, 19.
Yeah.
You would, like, barely sip it. It would, like, just touch your lips, and it would burn your whole fucking face.
Yeah. And you're just like, well, this is just what drinking is.
Yeah. That's just... I remember my twin sister, her ex-boyfriend used to be able to just, like, drink it out of the flask, and I was like... You're like a superhero.
Yeah. We would take swigs out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Remember that they had that metal top with the whole. We'd pop that off and slow it down. Like you just gotta take big chugs. It's gonna burn like hell.
But you're gonna get to where you're going.
Yeah. This is just what you do. I think.
Yeah.
Just chug it and get hammered, and then I got the ability. I used to be able to. I would drink and I also get hammered. You know. I'd throw up, and I'm like, all right, I got more room.
Puke and rally. Yeah. Me too. I've had people on, and they're like, yeah, as soon as I started throwing up, it was over. And I was like, no. That's when the party's just getting started.
Yeah. You got more room now.
Because not only do you open up more room in your stomach, but you, like, when you throw up, especially violent, drunk throw up, you use so many muscles. Like, endorphins start running in your brain. Serotonin kicks in. It's like you just went to the gym. You're like, all right, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go now.
Like
now we can start.
Now it's party time. God. So What did you go? You went from 151 to like in college. What were you drinking?
Yeah, that's how we did 151 for a while, and then we did like whatever the flavored vodkas
the whips
were.
and all the Svedka did a lot of flavors. Pinnacle did a lot of flavors.
Yeah, I remember the Pinnacle flavors. Yeah, like
I remember
cotton candy was one. I remember.
Yeah, because I remember Smirnoff had a couple of flavors, but they were traditional, like orange and strawberry and raspberry. And then I remember when Pinnacle started coming out with like Loopy, which was like the Fruit Loop flavor.
Yeah, I remember the Fruit
and
Loop
like
one.
Whipped, which is the whipped cream, and like all these weird flavors. And you're like, I guess we're doing this now.
Yeah, it's like it's fun candy now.
Yeah, worst.
Yeah, and then just graduated to what was it? I remember we did a lot of Absolute Mandarin. That was a big one for a while.
That was good.
That was our huge one.
What did you when you went to Chicago and then to New York? Were you like a more refined? That was old-fashioned bourbon. Oh, you're a beer at this point.
Then I moved to beer. Yeah. Because I was like, well, this slows it down.
Yeah.
I still eventually.
You got demoted. You got demoted to beer.
Yeah. I'll still get to blacking out.
Yeah.
But now I can. It'll take longer. I'm not a mess so quickly.
I can enjoy the evening.
Yeah. I can
for the most part.
Yeah. Now it's I'll make it to 4 a.m.
So when you were in lockdown in the apartment, that was beer.
That was. In the apartment, I was doing it was beer and then sometimes gin. I'd start doing some gin. Yeah.
Left field with the gin.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I got a handle thing on a gin Sapphire.
Went on a little gin kick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
God. So then, and then you just decided to hang it up. No, like meetings or rehabs or detox.
No, I just decided to hang it up. I was like, I'm just gonna stop. And
have you noticed a difference in your quality of life since you did that?
Oh, it's way better.
Yeah,
it's so much better.
I try not to because I've been sober for a long time, and I talk about like almost dying and all this stuff sometimes on the show, and I talk about it in my stand-up. So I try not to get too preachy because I don't want people to be like, oh, I thought this was a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like having people on who don't like do that stuff anymore because it's almost universally like, yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, if you can do, a glass of wine or have a few.
Yeah, that's one thing.
I'm like, you lucky son of a bitch. Ugh.
I tell my girlfriend, it's funny because you see all the wine everywhere. She drinks almost every day, but it's like a glass of wine. And I'm like, you fucking lucky duck.
That's great, Whereas
leave a half full glass, like just at a bar, and she'll be like, all right, let's go somewhere else. And I'm like, but there's still booze in there.
Yeah. Like, you finished that. You got to finish that.
You finish that.
That's money.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's like, come on, like we're trying to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't
on the fundraisers where they're like trying to fill up the thermometer all the way. It's like, we got to get to the top. Let's go.
You're feeling fun. You can feel more fun.
Yeah.
So
you can feel more fun.
So now, nothing. But I sleep way better.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to have mornings.
Yeah, you get your mornings back. It does make the night kind of boring sometimes.
It is pretty boring.
Yeah, it does. That's the one thing, like, especially if it's a shitty shift at work or like I'm out at the stand hanging out with comics. It's like, I would love to do a shot right now and like get this party going.
Yeah. You have to like kind of like be at peace with boredom.
Yeah.
Which is honestly that's helped with writing because I don't think people are bored anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I've heard this. I've heard this before. Yeah,
like society's no longer bored
because there's so much to do.
Yeah, as soon as like there's any like awkward silence or you're a little bit bored, the phone comes out. Like we're never just like I'm just gonna be bored.
Yeah,
and that's helped with writing.
Yeah, sometimes I'll force myself if I'm somewhere because my girlfriend and I work at different restaurants and opposite, like not the same schedule because she manages, so she's there all the time. So a lot of times, like over the years, I've gotten, and I've always been comfortable with being alone. Like, I'm fine going out to eat by myself. Like, I never understood the people who are like, I can't go to the movies by myself.
It's nice.
Look like a weirdo. I'm like, oh, no, I do almost everything by myself.
Yeah, you're in the dark. Nobody cares.
Yeah. So, but I've forced myself now recently, because I don't drink, so I don't, like, if I'm at a bar ordering lunch, I don't have that crutch of, like, well, let's just drink and, like, hang out. So I will force myself not to pull my phone out.
Yeah.
And just force myself to just sit in it. And it's really helped, like you said, with writing. It's really because your brain is just like, well, I guess we're gonna figure fucking something out.
Yeah, you start to like daydream and use your imagination. You're like, oh, I haven't used that in a while.
You're like, hey, there it is.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
I knew I was creative.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I can do something. Whereas, before you're like, well, I'll just drink and stare at Instagram and hate myself. Like,
hate
sucks.
everything about my life.
Yeah, so.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was awesome. Plug everything one more time. The album, where people can find you on social media, and then we'll have links in the show notes to everything, too.
Yeah, the album's coming out end of the month, the 28th. It's Jeff Scheen. Yeah, presents Jeff. Yeah, I got a dry bar. I don't know if there's any dry bar people that listen, but that's
sure
coming out at some point. They sent me the rough cut, but I don't have a specific date yet. And, keep it out. New York Jeffrey. Twitter and Instagram. I've been tweeting real bad lately.
Yeah?
Yeah, I hate Twitter, so it's a lot of warm out today.
Yeah.
I tweet like a dad.
I never used Twitter, ever. Like, I was always an Instagram guy. And then I moved up here, and there were just like little things that I noticed being in New York. And I'm like, I value my opinion so much. I want everyone to know what I think about this. And then Twitter became like really important.
Yeah, you're like, the A train's a nice train.
Yeah. But like, I'll do like random, like we got into an argument last night or 2 nights ago because she just read the Judd Apatow book. So she was telling me how to do stand up, and it turned into this huge. She's like, well, he interviews a lot of comics. And I'm like, so it turned into this huge fight. But of course, I'm like, take to Twitter because she doesn't have a Twitter. So I'm like, fucking Judd Apatow at Judd Apatow at. But it's like, that's the only place I can do that. You can't. What am I going to take a picture of the book and post it on Instagram? No.
Yeah.
And I'm sick and twisted in the brain where it's like, no, everyone needs to know what I have to say. So Twitter.
And she's like, how come you're not just be Judd Apatow?
Yeah. She's like, you need to write more. It's like, excuse me?
Oh, that's the worst thing. You need to write more. Oh, do I? Do I have to write more? I never thought of that.
When you're at work 10 hours a day and you're not home, or when I'm out at open mics all on my days off, like, what do you think I'm doing then?
Yeah.
I'm jerking off on the train?
Sure. I never thought to write more.
Really? That is such a unique perspective.
Yeah. Should I get on stage too?
Is that part of it? Oh, man. So New York Jeffrey, Twitter, Instagram. Album is Jeff.
Yep. Jeff Scheen presents just Jeff.
Jeff. God, that's such a good one.
Yeah. So, that stuff, and then
sweet.
That's it. Yeah, great.
Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been
Absolutely.
So fun.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Of course, Brennan T. Comedy on all social media. Check out BrennanTComedy.com for upcoming dates. Check out the merch store, Patreon.com/Brennan Tassif, and we'll talk to y'all next week. We are out.
Yeah.